In this IBM BPM tutorial, we will learn how to integrate from IBM BPM to a database. So it's a very common requirement when we work in BPM. So how to insert a record, how to select a record from a database. So we already know, like IBM BPM internally built on Java. So here we use JDBC connection to connect to a database. Okay. So what are the steps to create the JDBC adapter? The first thing is same, like what we need to do, we need to create a JDBC data source that we normally use whenever you want to create a Java database connection from a Java based application to any database. Okay, then you need to create a JNDI, and this is the third step which you need to do it in BPM side, IBM BPM process designer. You have to create a nested service, and that nested service you have to expose as a SQL execute statement, and there you need to provide your JNDI detail. The two steps, the first two steps, create a JDBC data source and create JNDI. These two steps you need to do it in IBM admin console. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, fine. So the first thing, I will show you my database. Okay, so I have connected with the IBM Data Studio client, and my database is a DB2 database. So here I have created a separate database called as a sample. Okay, and in the sample database there is a table I have created, and the name of the table is, okay, let me see, null ID. The name of the table is employee. Okay, so this employee table, the schema name is a null ID. Okay, so currently if you want to see if whether is there any are there any result, sorry, so currently we will see if there are any records in that table, in this table. So for that you can just execute some record from here, select asterisk from null id dot imply. Okay, that's it, and just try to run this up. Okay, run SQL result. So if you see currently in this table there's no record. Okay, so we will try to insert a record from IBM BPM. Okay, fine. So what we need to do, the first thing, we have to go to IBM admin console. So I can go over here and webshare application server administrative console. Okay, login and create a data source. So let me, it might take a couple of seconds to log in. Okay, so it's logged in. So go to resources, JDBC and data source. Okay, you need to first select the scope. So I'm creating in a cluster level, and new, create a data source name over here. So let me create the data source name as a sample ds and give the JNDI name JDBC slash sample. Okay, next we need to remember this JNDI name, because the same JNDI name we have to refer in IBM BPM process designer. Next, I don't need to have a new JDBC provider, so already the JDBC provider is defined, so I can use this DB2 using IBM GCC driver. Next, If you are connecting to some other like Oracle database or MySQL database, in that case you have to create a new JDBC provider. So when you create a new JDBC provider, you have to uh, give the that corresponding jar file to which will connect to that database. Database name is a sample and server name is a local host, and we already know 50,000 is a default port number for connecting to DB2 database. Next, here you have to select the authentication alias. Authentication alias are basically the user ID and password of your database. Okay, so this authentication alias you need to create separately. So for me, my user ID and password is a db2 admin and db2 admin. Okay, so I have already created this authentication alias. So you can just make it like that, manage. You can leave this option just like that. Okay, fine, and finish. Save the changes. Okay, and because this IBM BPM is in node and ND topology, so you have to change whatever the changes you are making. You have to make sure you are making the changes into the master repository. So now this change will be there in all the nodes. Oh, okay, no problem. Just do one more time. Okay, fine. So again, come back to over here. JDBC data sources. Okay, so here if you want to know how to create authentication alias, I will just show you. Okay, so you can come over here, just J2C authentication data, and this alias is already created, db2 admin. Okay, if we want, you can just create your new authentication alias. So like uh, sample db, it's better to make it as a caps, give the db2 admin and password. That's it. And this authentication alias you have to refer in your data source. Okay, so if you come over here, okay, so here rather than using this BPM DB alias, you can refer the sample DB also. It's the same thing, and just apply, save. Okay, now you can test your database connection from here. Okay, test connection. Okay, so it says your changes are not saved. So what you can do, save changes to master repository and save, because we made changes. Okay, and now test one more time. Okay, so your connection is successful. Okay, so this is the first step. This step normally you need to perform when you want to create any database connection from any Java based application which is running in WebSphere application server. Okay, so BPM also runs on top of a VAS, so for that also we need to create this connection. Now let's come to the BPM side. Okay, in the BPM side I need to create an integration service, and let's give some name as integration service as a sample db, okay, insert. So suppose I want to write an insert query, insert integration service, finish, okay, and here we already know which service we have to drag and drop. We have to drag and drop the nested service, okay, and insert sample db service, okay. Now just make it like this, and you have to expose this service as a SQL execute statement. So there are multiple implementation you can see over here. SQL multiple stored procedure, SQL stored procedure, SQL clop to file, SQL execute multiple statements. Okay, so for me, because I have only one query, so I can use very well SQL execute statement. Okay, if you have multiple queries, you can use as a SQL execute multiple statements. Okay, if you want to run stored procedure, then you can use this one. Okay, so I will select this, and now you can connect the in button to in service. Okay, now here the way we configure the nested service, you need to come to data mapping and you have to provide all the mandatory details. These details you can hard code over here, or you can also provide these details from a from some variable which are coming from the from some other service also. Okay, so for me, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write everything over here itself. Okay, so okay, so here I need to provide a data source name. What is the data source name I gave? Okay, it should be in string form, JDBC slash sample. Okay, fine. And return type, because it's a insert statement, so I don't have any return type. Or if you here you will get the results. Okay, so the type of the results is any. So if suppose if you are writing a select statement, then you will be getting the results, and that results you will be stored in this variable. So you have to create a variable over here, okay, in as a output variable. Maximum rows I do not have anything, parameters I do not have anything. I just have a SQL statement. Okay, so just first check the SQL statement which I am going to write, whether it's working fine or not. So I am just going to write an insert into whether the SQL statement is working fine or not. Null id dot imply, okay, values. Okay, it has two columns, name and id, both are string. So I can give as a, suppose I gave some name as a Tom, and the id I gave 222. Okay, fine, and just select this insert and run this. Okay, you can run from here itself. Okay, so it's successfully completed. So if you want to check it over here, you see one record is there. Okay, so this query is fine. I can just copy this query from here and I can paste this query over here. Fine, so it's query which is running properly. Okay, this query, as I told you, you can create a variable over here, input variable, and you can map SQL, or you can create a like GNDI name. So these things you can set it in these variables. Okay, you can map these variable to other service if these things are coming from other service. Okay, fine, that's it. So here what I am going to do, because this record is already there, so I am just going to change from Tom to David. Okay, and give some name over here, 333. Fine, and this also is a string. Let me put it like this. Okay, fine. Okay, now if you are going to run this service, it is not going to work. Okay, because whenever you are making any change in the vast administrative console, you have to make sure you have to restart the server. Okay, so once you create a JNDI, okay, that changes to be reflected in BPM, you need to restart your server. So come again to here and stop the process center deployment environment. It will take, it's a one-time job, and it will take around 4 to 5 minutes to restart the server, and then we will test and it has to work fine. Okay, so I just restarted my server. Okay, so server is now started. Okay, and now let's try to run this integration service. Okay, so the service ran successfully. Okay, so now let's see whether the records are updated or not. So select asterisk from this, select here result, and you can see another record David is also updated over here. Okay, so here I just shown you, okay, how to use the insert statement. In future, if we have any other statement and all, what we can do, we can just create a server script over here, and these statements you can write it over here. Okay, and then you can, rather than hard coding over at this point, you can just assign these variables, okay, in the service. Okay, fine. In one more tutorial, we will discuss about the environment variables and EPB variable. Okay, so normally such type of variable like data source and all, we create as a environment variable. Okay, so here we will refer as a env variable. Okay, so you can, if you want, you can just check it over here, create environment variable, and here you can write it like sample underscore db. Okay, because this JNDI could be changed in each environment. Okay, sample, and let me, this is also happen to be a sample. Okay, so when you, what is the importance of this, when you will deploy the snapshot in different environment like development, test stage and production, automatically it will take the JNDI from here. You don't need to change the JNDI each and every point. Okay, otherwise if we are not using as environment variable, whenever I am going to deploy in the next environment, I have to come over here and change the variable. Okay, tw.env dot, you can see sample underscore db, fine, and select here, and if you want it, okay, let me create a variable over here, server script. Okay, and input, I can just say input SQL. You can just select date. Okay, and come over here, implementation, and give your SQL detail over here. So you can say tw.local.sql equal to, and your SQL statement will be over here. Okay, so I removed it, so I can copy again from here. Okay, and here let's have some name like Mahesh, and my ID is suppose 555. Okay, save it. Okay, and here just tw.local.sql. Okay, fine. And if you want to run it again, service is running properly. And if you come over here in your DB and let's see the records are updated or not. So just try to get it, run this, and you can see the third record as Mahesh is updated over here. Okay, so in this tutorial we learned how to develop a JDBC adapter in IBM BPM. Okay, thank you.